Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Minecraft Musings. Happy, what is it, Tuesday? It feels like Friday. I don't know. It just kind of feels like it's almost a weekend. I don't know, but it's not. Uh, Anywho, I was looking at the video count and the playlist, so I was thinking about, oh, maybe I should start a season 4 already. And I was looking at it and I decided I'm gonna do a few more in this one, and then I don't really have any major milestones. Like maybe season 4 will be the start of like creating an empire in one of the other lands. Like I know we did kind of like outposts in the other areas, but like just something to kind of commemorate like an actual change or not. Maybe it just doesn't need any rhyme or reason. I mean, these are just musings after all. Basically a journal, like someone commented. It is a journal, a diary, or kind of just keeping track of my thoughts as they go. So, but I mean, not just like a journal though. So journaling is healthy, definitely. In fact, let me write that down because I'm still doing a lot of the jam boards. Trying to think of like all the different areas of discussion or learning, education, or anywhere that I could be of use to add to the channel. Because I got the Let's Learn Python playlist, and that's going along. Um, Still a little long. Or no, no. And then I got the GED, so we could do let's get our GED or something. I don't know. Just starting like a whole theme, but make mental wellness Jamboard. All right, so make I don't know physical health wellness Jamboard. I don't know. These things it kind of falls under problem solving for the self, but at the same time, well, yeah, no, I guess it does because I like the problem solving Jamboard. If I could just keep all this stuff under one giant umbrella, but yet not get too big. I mean, because I got a ton of Jamboards going, but they really could be reduced down to just a couple. Like, if I wanted a section for, because I'm thinking about doing a math section, really everything, math, science, and all the basics too, mind you. Like, I'm not claiming to be an expert in any of those fields, but I did have to do a lot of it for my current field and the computer science type education or tech, I guess. We could just say tech. I have a tech degree because it's so lengthy to explain, but I will anyway. For those of you who aren't aware, it's an applied computing technology degree, so it's not computer science. And for a while there, I thought that was why, because I was having a hard time getting the good jobs, like the good paying. But then it's like it still didn't take me long. It's just I kept seeing a bunch of my buddies getting like really fancy, nice jobs, and granted, the ones that got the higher salaries ended up burning out and are having like a hard time right now. And so something to be aware of, like the whole FANG idea. It's like Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, I believe. It's like FAANG or whatever it is. I've seen different versions of it too, like Drop Off and whatever. The point is, a lot of these tech companies are notorious for paying their workers really well. And so those are the jobs that are most sought after. And, and I'll admit, I tried to go after, well, actually, not really, some of the stuff. I didn't really apply a lot to Google until recently. I think they just moved or built one of their factories or places down in Boulder, but and honestly, I'm not a fan of Boulder. Like, I just don't. I have a lot of friends that went there, live there, still do. I mean, but Boulder as a whole, I don't know. Let's go back to state stereotypes. Okay, so California and Texas and Colorado. There's definitely a lot going around. There always has been. Yeah, let's actually drop some off in case. Actually, something I wanted to do before we get into all that. A couple of topics I've been wanting to talk about. We might do a couple episodes though, because problem solving is such a wide umbrella as it is. Also, I need something to kind of designate. Yeah, that'll do. A sign that says this is where. So, let's see. Basically, yeah, we got to go back down here. I was just going through my old videos, deleting stuff to free up room so I can keep presenting you, shoveling this stuff at you. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I have these two torches here to signify here. Well, I'll just go ahead and show you. Just to, I want to make sure too, and see I was mining right there, like, where you're barely getting into the deep slate, but that's a bad idea, and this is why. Because if you don't have your torch ready fast enough, there could be a hole and you could just fall right into it. So this is a very dangerous level to mine at, unless you do this. Let's see, I'm crouched, so I can't actually fall off. Here, I'll show you. And this is the place I was thinking of. All right, because I marked it with amethyst. Let's see. Although this is really confusing. I want to mark this. So we know without a doubt, amethyst, the lines, that's how you get out. But I think as long as you don't drop down the hole, let's see, there's no real other options except for that first diversion to the right. Anyways, that's why. You can see there's a spawner. So there's one spawner, and then there's a second one. Actually, I think I took, oh no, they didn't take a lot of this stuff. So let's do that. Could always use redstone. Don't need rotten flesh, copper, or bread, but you know, there's usually a chest with these areas, and it's like a cobblestone square, but it got glitched and it's in the... Anyways, sometimes pieces of it are missing, because I didn't actually destroy any of this. This is just how the cave was like eaten out of it. So, and there's another one down here. So let's go down. You can see right there. Ooh, a bat. A murcielago. Okay. And see, another chest. I did loot all that. And this one's a much smaller room. That's interesting. And they're both zombie spawners. So, I mean, it's cool, but it would have been even cooler if, like, one was a skeleton or... It's really skeletons with their bones and then the arrows. It's a very good source of items. Let's see. So I believe it was just... Nope, this is the wrong way. Amethyst. There you go. Oops. Alright. So, anyways, what I was originally saying... Yeah, we'll get back to the state stereotypes here in a sec. But basically, we've talked about it a little bit. Like the whole Texas-Colorado rivalry. Having worked at a ski resort for 3 seasons, like... I can tell you that there is a rivalry between Texas and Colorado and California, really, but it's harder to tell a Californian on the mountain than a Texan because of the accent. Now, you can still kind of, and then I should say, you know, that is very judgmental and it's not fair, and like not everybody's like that. However, the general consensus of the issue with, well, you know, California being the Boulder thing. And by the Boulder thing, I mean they end up being a little more privileged and yuppie-ish to where, you know, they've got the answer. They want to... Wait, let's put a sign here. Let's see, ye old spawners. Oh, let's talk about circular arrays. Boom, there you go. See, I go through all the way through the choices, and then I'm about to go to the end, and then I go right back to the beginning. That's a concept in computer science where you can make an array or a data structure that holds a bunch of values or a bunch of variables. Primitive, well, depends. Sorry, because like with Python, you can use mix match variables, but anyways, it's a group of variables in a sequence. Like there's, well, let's stick with these. So like an index 0, index 1, index 2, all the way up until, what is that? 9, 10, 11. So there's 11 spots. It'd be index 10 because it's 0 base. So 0 takes the first one. But anyways, so once you get to 10, if you add 1, you subtract 10 instead. So you'd have a piece of logic saying, if you get to the end, subtract 1. And actually that was the thing I was showing with, that's why I love ROT13, which is an encryption algorithm to teach, oh, ye olde spawn, wait. Ah. Ye olde spawner. Sorry, we're gonna have to write that again. That's why it's bad that I don't finish thing, but ye olde spawner. And see, now I'm using, that's why I thought of it, is because I wasn't utilizing circular arrays when I went from the P all the way to the A, when that saves me so many button clicks. You know, and in computer science and in IT, we call them, you know, mouse clicks. Whatever we can do to reduce the number of mouse clicks and the time that it takes you to accomplish a task, that's optimizing. As far as IT goes, computer science, like as far as programming and all that, you're talking optimization with throughput, or like how much data you can process, how fast you can process that data. And then also reducing it too, like reducing the amount of data that is being processed or being sent, or, you know, and different modes of attack, really. I mean, if you're attacking a problem, or different modes of approach if you're approaching a problem. because I see too much of this war room nonsense on the Twitters. It's like all the political stuff. It's like, oh, we're in the war room and it's a war, and it's like, no, knock it off. Like, you're stupid. I mean, it's not war. It's just political unrest. It will subside, and it's like, and every 4 years you get another chance to either have your guy or not, and maybe you have your gal. That's the exciting thing. Is like, we might have a woman president someday. Although I will admit, I was mad at Hillary because I really wanted Bernie. I mean, I'm a Bernie bro at heart. Or used to be. Anyways, enough politics. It's so uncomfortable to like, yeah. But although I will say the main reason that I ever even vote that way or think that way is because of giving back to the people, the Robin Hood mentality that I've seen throughout the Democratic Party. However, I definitely understand and sympathize with the Republican concerns of overspending. But I'd like to see the evidence, and I'd also like to see, well, okay, is there another way to account for this? Because a lot of their spending, I love, like, welfare programs, helping people out. And it's not enabling people to live a life of, debauchery and whatever. People grow out of that. Even the deepest, darkest recesses of addiction and substance abuse and criminal behavior and all of that, they either learn or they're in prison for life or dead. Like there's no other option. They're not, I mean, it's not sustainable. Especially the heavier substances, especially like meth and heroin. So, if you're out there and you're thinking about trying a substance, if it's meth or if it's heroin, don't. Like I've never done those two myself. It's just like, I was scared, straight with like these books of people's teeth falling out of their heads. So, but anyways, my whole point is like I talk about two taboos being like religion, politics, as far as like what's comfortable to talk about. And even though we should and we do need to address them, but at the same time, these are the two taboos in the substance world. It's like, if you're going to be curious, if you're going to try things, like, okay, I mean, do it safely, go places where it's legal, like, be careful, be smart. And that's the other thing too. Let's actually talk about that. I mean, sorry. So the main reason I wanted to make a musing today was because I was thinking about problem solving and what happens when your solution actually creates more problems. Now, some people might say, oh, well, there's, calculable loss, or, if that's the price, that's the price. Well, okay, but let's really weigh out the options here. So my specific example is marijuana. It's like, because it is legal in just about every state medicinally, I think, or it's at like 38 states, and then I don't know. It constantly changes. But my point being is like, and not because I want everybody out to go out and smoke. No, it's like it's the same exact concept as the Prohibition era. I mean, when we prohibited alcohol, it created black markets that led to lots of violence and gangs. Like, that was our darkest time as far as gangs were concerned. I mean, we still have gangs, don't get me wrong. And like when Tupac died in 97. Now I've got that in my head. I don't know if it's accurate. I heard it on the radio and I just mixed with that because that is the year that the Macarena came out. And I know that because it came out when I was in Nevada. So the 1 year I left Colorado, ugh, and it was such a horrible time. No, it wasn't that bad, but no, my point about prohibition is the black markets. So if you're going to ban something like that, you should just decriminalize it. I mean, don't legalize it, but decriminalize. Because what ended up happening is like only the boldest and the most dangerous and not bold in a good way, mind you. I'm talking about bold as in like bold enough to shoot someone in the middle of the daylight, like, like just outright murder people in front of people, and then they would kill the witnesses. And like those are like our classic mobsters. And granted, there's a lot of very entertaining gangster movies. I love like Kill the Irishman is my favorite. The Goodfellas is really, really good. And it just shows like how, yeah, it might be fun, that life of crime and like the quick, fast, short rewards or the fast money or, and that's applicable today with, well, like drug dealing and stuff like that, or stealing, or really those are like the only two illegal ones anymore. You can trade on Wall Street, you can rip people off in insurance scams, you can, charge people too much for legal advice, you can do all these other things totally legal. Anyways, I'm just kidding. Like, these are the areas that I want to address, like both the illegal and and prostitution. Sorry, that's another one. That's how women and some men. I mean, there's this guy, Mickey Avalon, that I used to listen to. He does this music. I actually went and saw him at the Aggie here in Fort Collins. But basically, he's like a really drugged out like musician that does some really, really raunchy music, but really entertaining. And at the time, that was kind of, that was entertaining for me in that point in my life. Now I don't remember the last time I've listened to any of his songs, but anyways, my point being is he talked a lot about male prostitution. And it's just like, whoa, okay, so something I didn't even think about, like, huh, that can be a thing. Not saying I want to ever do it or anything, but it's just like the whole point from what I've seen with like female prostitution. Because remember, I had a friend that did a little bit of it like back in college, and it was like you just kind of see what like how that affects people. Or there's that song from Black Eyed Peas about like it was sleeping with a man for money to feed the kids, like, and then it's like, what would you do? It's like, no, I'd get up on my feet and go get a job. And okay, well, again, way easier said than done, especially if you're a single parent and you don't have any family support, which like we're getting a lot better as a society now. I mean, it's way different now than like even 10, 20 years ago. I mean, super religious households, if you had a baby out of wedlock, you're basically like out of the family. Or um or if you are using drugs, that's actually still relevant today because, like, I mean, especially with like opiates, the whole fentanyl crisis thing, and I don't know, as it should be to a point. I don't support taking kids away from the families, except for if the kids are in danger and all that. And I don't know, it's just the fentanyl and opiates are scary. And the other way, like meth gets your teeth falling out of your head, like those opiates, and that's why even like normal, basic, like smaller time opiates are still scary because it's like that's just that is a slippery slope to like hard stuff. I had a friend die on heroin, like, and all he did is he broke his arm and he got some painkillers, and then he didn't want to stop him, but the doctor said you don't get any more. And then he had some friends, I don't know, he went to black markets, then he got into heroin, and then he died. So it's like, huh, okay, so when you talk about that meme with the cavemen and the cave people, sorry, cavemen and cave women, uh, eating mushrooms, one makes you see God for a day, like the other one kills you, and then, or the other one's edible. Or anyway, sorry, no, I messed it up. One's edible, the other one makes you see God, and then the other one kills you. It's like, okay, noted. Like, I mean, it's so easy to point out the dangers of those. But then you talk about things like Adderall, which I actually did have a prescription for. So it's like, and that's synthetic meth, but at the same time, not. 'Cause, I mean, it is a different chemical composition. I mean, there is a risk to abusing it. You really can't take more than you're supposed to. Although at the same time, I had like the highest dosage for my ability. Not that I'm trying to brag or anything. It's just like I just had that much of a tolerance. Like, and I don't know. I still don't even believe the whole ADHD or ADD thing. Like, I think that is just an honest byproduct of technology. Like, the more, because I just noticed that as like a common occurrence. The more people use tech and get comfortable with tech, the more they seem to be classifiable as having something or being on some kind of spectrum. Or, you think about Elon Musk and Asperger's, or you think about, I don't have a lot of great examples, but that is someone like very into like computers and tech. Even though I've heard things like, I don't know, like where he didn't actually, like he Zuckerberg the PayPal thing. I don't know. I don't really care because even just knowing and understanding Teslas and like vehicles. See, that's the thing, like vehicles. I don't know anything about cars. I know how to change my oil and change a tire. So and that's pretty good in my opinion. Like that's more than a lot of people I know. In fact, I had a couple lady friends that they got, well, it's also, not to say ladies can't change their tires. It's just, they can if they want to. There you go. But they still shouldn't have to. I mean, I'm okay with like chivalry to the point of where it's not like required for like a thank you or anything. It's just these were genuinely my friends and I didn't get anything out of it. Didn't want anything out of it. They just said, "Oh, hey, our tire's flat. Do you think you could help us?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." I know how it is to be stressed out with a flat tire, so I drove on over and changed it. High five, gave a hug, and then left. Like, yeah, that's it. But as it should be too. I think everybody should have the opportunity to like be in scouts because I feel like that is like, I mean, yeah, church instilled a lot of like good values of me as a kid. But then I stopped going to both as soon as I was able to because I was like, yep, I got what I needed. I'm good. Now on to other things. And it's like, and some people just lost their mind about that too. Like I have a few friends that are Eagle Scouts and they're just like, dude, why didn't you? Or like, and all this, or they like to brag that they're an Eagle Scout. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool, but I went and played football, basketball, like I, I even did gymnastics as a kid. This was more when I was really little, so like let me think, like when I stopped doing the Boy Scouts and the church, Methodist, mind you, not even Catholic. It was the protesters, the ones that didn't even think Catholicism was all that realistic. It's like, now let's focus on these things. And then I left because I was like, yeah, let's well, no, I wanted my Sundays back, let's be honest. It wasn't terrible. It was just boring. I mean, and that's the thing too, is like if you understand how to be a good person and if you get it, like I can see maybe going for like a refresher every like maybe once a month, once a year or something, but every Sunday, like I and I think that's because we have technology, we have communication, and we also have less of a demand for keeping people good and honest. Now we have accountability because with tech, you can record everything. I mean, and honestly, everything. Like if they're investigating you for stuff, they can get you through your TV, your phone. Like you can't even remove the battery from your phone anymore, and that's by design. Like, so basically my point is there's going to be a lot less crime over time too. I mean, it's not going to be day and night. Like I already know without looking at the numbers, like, yep, people are still out there committing crimes. But again, that's also because of my approach of, and it's not mine. It's not originally mine. I'm just saying, like the way I think when I try to problem solve. Actually, it's basically any computer scientist, which I do like calling myself that. 'Cause, I don't know. I don't have a computer science degree, but I studied it and I work in the tech field. So I don't know. Same with like engineer and then programmer, because I was a software developer for like a year. It's just like if I could call myself that for that time, but so we might be getting close to the nitty gritty. Anyways, my point being is like if you can't solve a problem from one angle, or if it's too hard to solve from one angle, or if it's more efficient, try a different angle or try a different part in the, I don't know, I don't want to say circuit because there's no real electricity going through it, but in the program, the recipe, like the playbook, the guide, the story, whatever, those would be applicable. However your approach is or your algorithm to fixing a problem. And then like the easiest example for me is like contraceptives. Like how do you prevent it one side or the other? Like, the many, or are you trying to target the many targets or the one target? And I'm not gonna go too deep into that because I'm still worried about my own kids stumbling upon these things. Ugh. Then I got some explaining to do. I'm just kidding. But no, for real, like a lot of these things are okay. And I'm not discounting religion. Like I talk about it a lot, but it's still a possibility. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm not saying it's real either. Like in fact, I'm saying it's fake and it's fiction until proven real, but it could be real. Like anything's possible. I mean, we thought the earth was the center of the universe. We thought, well, and even polytheism and monotheism. We all believed in polytheism up until a certain point. Well, maybe not all. I'd have to see like Islam and like the history of that when it actually started. Ooh, actually, let's go ahead and go repair our axe. But just kind of get it like a frame of reference, like or relevance. Like I don't know. But and it's also offensive too because if you thought something and you wholly believe it in everything, and that's been your life, then it is offensive if someone comes along and says, that's a fantasy. That's a fairy tale. I don't know. So I'm definitely not trying to say anything like that. I respect people's freedoms to believe what they want. I also, so I know I say a lot, like that's giving a lot of credit or a lot of faith into someone for something. Like, how there's no real James Bond villains is because that's giving a lot of faith to like one person or entity. I mean, granted, there are corporations, but even that, like, there's so much accountability and like we're getting, I don't know, if we're not there yet, we're definitely on our way to like strictly enforcing like no evil. And granted, just because you're of a different political party doesn't make you evil. I should say that too. In fact, and that's why I really hate the idea of Satan. And we kind of talked about that last time. Is like once you start saying like that there's actually like a boogeyman or Satan or the devil or whatever, like then you start believing that people can actually be evil. Like when really people are just people. Now that they can be mean, they can be dangerous, they can be violent, but they're not evil. Like they're not doing this to like I mean unless they're really messed up and they just hate everyone, but really it's like I don't know. A lot of it, sorry, in the cybersecurity realm, most of the stuff that I try to deal with and protect against, and a lot of my other, or some of my other side projects are like experimenting on different ways to track people at doing attacks, or track activity, or document things, or all these different things, and it's to protect against theft mostly. Like people are trying to steal your money because they don't have money. And so right away, like my problem solving, like thinking is like, well, let's make it to where they don't need money. I mean, of course, we can't just give everybody $1 million. However, what if they had everything that they needed? Like, I mean, they had everything that they needed, and they had an income on top of that. Because you gotta compare it to like when you're in high school and you're just starting to work. I mean, hopefully you're working. I'm gonna make my kids work in high school, but maybe like at least senior year, maybe not earlier on, because I kind of wish I didn't work as much, or maybe just part time. I don't know, because I ruined a lot of my summer working, and then I didn't realize, oh wait, I'm gonna work for the rest of my life. So I don't know, but we also weren't rich to be able to go do stuff, so I kind of had to work if I wanted to do any shenanigans. So yeah. Anyways, my point being is like, uh, kids are able to spend all of their income is disposable. They don't have to pay rent. They don't have to pay bills. They don't. So that is still a magical time for them. But pretty much, where was I going with that? That's what we need to do with other countries. We need to provide all their basic needs. If we can get like energy, like heat, electricity, water, all of that just standard and provided, and that's for us too. Like, I mean, I know companies need to get paid to continue to provide this stuff, but at the same time, so actually, no, I don't want to be doing all this. All right, well, yeah, we're almost done with this episode. Let's keep rambling and trading. I was gonna say, I usually go and do the make the emeralds, and then whoops, stash one stack, take the leftovers, make the blocks, deposit the blocks, deposit the leftovers, and take the stack. And now I have room for more stacks. But anyways, my point being is like if we could reduce as much friction as possible for these other people, at least until they're caught up with us. Like, we call it, wait, whoops, I'm going the wrong way. I'm talking about developing worlds and developing nations. And honestly, a lot of places are really close. Like they're not, we think about like, yeah, I talk about there's still the Kung Bush people in Africa that live that way. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't checked, and that was back in like 2015, I think, is when I had that anthropology class. But as of 2015, I want to say there were still Bush people living around there, the Kung. But, and there's Amish still, and the tribes in the rainforest and all that. But I'm talking like the people or the countries and the cities and the populous places that are seeking to become more advanced and more with like the rest of the world as far as tech and convenience goes. They have access to it. It might not be pretty, it might not be the best yet, but it's improving a lot. And even as I'm talking about this, I saw this tweet about China building a bunch of railroads and stuff in Africa. And again, Africa is a massive place, and just saying Africa is like saying, oh, it's in North, Central, or South America. And that's even still less than Africa. But my point being is that China's doing a bunch of these philanthropy projects and upgrading infrastructure in Africa. And that's what we're doing here in America. We've got the build back whatever, the catch build back better, is that? Anyways, the infrastructure plan and all of that work going on, and it's amazing to see like the dots of everywhere there's a project going. Um, I mean, and just have a bunch of funding for all of this. And again, like, oh, the Democrats, it's runaway spending. Well, yeah, but look at what they're spending it on. Like, they're investing in us. Like, that is like the definition of America first. Like, fixing a bunch of stuff, putting a bunch of people to work, making a bunch of good paying jobs. Because that's the thing, is like, you can't just make jobs. Anybody could open up like 50 McDonald's and KFCs and make a bunch of crappy jobs. But what if you made a bunch of construction jobs? Because that takes skill, that takes hard work. Like, I got paid really well when I did construction just for that summer in high school. Again, my senior summer, it was all hard work because I was living on my own. Yeah, I was living in a trailer. And so, actually, wait, that wasn't just a summer. Huh. Sorry, I just had a realization. I don't even remember the start and end dates of my high school jobs. Like I know I worked at the burger place for like all 4 years, but then I worked at a couple of the restaurants. I worked at Subway for 2 weeks and I hated it and quit. I think I only worked there like a day and I was like, this isn't for me. I mean, I didn't realize how much customer interaction there was. I thought there was like dishwasher positions or kitchen positions, but when you're at Subway, you do every position. Oh, there's my alarm. So, anyways, that's good for Oh yeah, we're not doing season 4 just yet because I mean the videos were at least like an hour long in the first two seasons, or at least for most of them. But season 3, yeah, we started getting more concise and more bite sized. So let's see, and that's actually a little early. All right, until next time, ta ta.